All right, you guys are in for a real spectacular interview coming up here.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex ladies. We are so excited to drop in with these two today. They have a wealth of wisdom. So welcome, April and Amy. We're so thrilled you both are here with us.
Thank you for having us. We're stoked to be here.
I know. I heard we're talking about sex toys.
Yeah, baby. We haven't talked about sex toys yet, so I'm super excited. Who better to enlighten us on sex toys than April and Amy, who have been in the biz for so long?
You know, I'm really curious if you guys could say a little bit about yourselves and how, like, what's the genesis? What's the origin story of how you got into all of this, both with the podcast and, of course, the sex toys? I think you were both involved in the sex toy store in Santa Cruz, Pure Pleasure. Mm-hmm. So anyways, tell us a little bit about you.
In the beginning, there were dinosaurs. Oh, but before that was a big bang. And then there was Pure Pleasure. So let's do the shorter version of what could be a really long story. So at 18, I decided I wanted to enter the world of human sexuality. Thought I wanted to be a sex therapist. Came from that perspective more so, just having a lot of questions about my own body. I don't understand my body, my orgasms. Well, how do I even have orgasms? I only had them from Vibrators at that time. I took a human sexuality class at Cabrillo, which is a community college here in Santa Cruz, and loved every second of it, even though the teacher there, the professor, was still recommending the diaphragm to 18-year-olds, which Planned Parenthood wasn't even doing. And they were celibate for 10 years, but they're teaching human sexuality. Celibacy is all good, everyone. But like to be a human sexuality teacher, it was an interesting perspective to share with your students. By the way, I've been celibate for 10 years. And I decided that I loved every second of the class, even though it was they were making it dry and dull. I loved reading the textbooks. If I was going to go to school for something I loved, why not? Why not go to school for something I love and have so many questions about and just want to learn about? So it ended up being human sexuality. And then fast forward to going to San Francisco State, minoring in human sexuality. I, at that point, was in the process of meeting April. We met working at a restaurant, had nothing to do with sex. And we worked in a restaurant together and immediately felt like deep sisterhood. Happened very quickly in this weird way where like almost like we have past life stuff together or something that it goes beyond this lifetime in our perspective. But with one of the field trips for one of my classes at San Francisco State was to Good Vibrations in San Francisco. So we're kind of one of the OGs of sex positive sex shops, where you go in and the sex toys aren't closeted in the back room. You know, it's all the toys are out on display for you to touch. All the people that are working there, educators, they're really welcoming, embracing sex. And so I called my mom and I was like, we should open up a sex shop like this in Santa Cruz. And she was like, what, me? Really? A sex shop? And
her mom was like a travel agent at the time.
Yeah, she's a travel agent. Yeah.
Yes.
Or like, and before that, real estate, but she wanted to do something to benefit women because her mom was a very unempowered woman. Her mom never learned how to drive, ride a bike, swim, kind of like was in service to her husband, especially in sex. And, fun fact too, my grandpa used to bootleg porn, so it's in my blood.
He was Santa Cruz, right?
Oh no, LA.
Okay.
He was a
California.
TV repairman, but he would sell porn on the side, and he wasn't filming it, but he would just sell
he was a smut peddler.
Yeah,
they called him back in the day.
Smut peddling VHSs. So, anyways, fast forward, my mom and I decide to open up the store that we wanted it to be similar to the Good Vibrations theme, where we had weekly sex ed classes. Leah, you have taught there multiple times. Since then, after 12 years, we closed the brick and mortar, sold it to Good Vibrations, actually. So full circle. Brilliant. Right before shelter in place. Thank goodness. And April and I were really close at the time. And I saw her work ethic and working in a restaurant. I was like, damn, that girl is a social savant. Like she could sell your sock off your own foot to you. Like she just has this way to her.
And she gets shit done, right?
She gets shit done. And she's a people person.
I was studying law anyway, which I'm not meant to be a lawyer. So I'm happy that I started selling dildos. Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, do you want to be the manager at our new sex shop? And what was your response? I don't even own a vibrator.
I was like, I don't even own a vibrator. I've never worked in retail, but I love shopping. So maybe I'll be good at this.
So I was like, here's your first vibrator. And actually it's funny. This first vibrator I gave her is from a company called Fun Factory, which is actually a company she ended up working for like 6 years later.
6.5 years. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's when I originally met you, Amy, at a mutual friend's wedding. You were working for that company at that time.
Or April.
Me. I was working
April.
for Fun Factory.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's like head of global sales.
I was
She
the
just
director
blew
of
up.
sales. Yes. It was it was really cool. And working for a manufacturer, I got to help design toys and actually learned so much about it. But if it weren't for Amy, I would never have been even remotely I would have remotely thought I belonged in selling sex toys, like ever in a million years. I grew up in Wisconsin. All of the sex shops you walked into were scary. They were dudes. We called them whack shacks, right? Or sticky floor stores where you like, I don't go in there. And you get a little nervous to even look at anything because you're afraid there's a voyeur in the back, which no problem. But there was no privacy. So when Amy said this, I was like, I don't think I want to work in a sex shop because I was like, I've never been in one and I don't own a vibrator. And she said that I would be a natural, and she was right.
She was a manager there for a year and fell in love with someone in Israel and moved away to Israel.
Only a year? No, it's 2 years.
2 years. Well, then, and then she left and I cried. And then, and then when she moved back to the States with her now Israeli husband years later, brought her to a sex toy trade show, and she instantly got hired to work as became woman of the year in the sex toy industry. April is like the most sought after person in the sex toy industry. She's blushed. She's like, man, don't say that, Amy. But every company would love for her to work for them because she knows her shit. Okay,
Queen of the sex toys.
Shit.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Can we say shit on the show?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And so charming. I mean,
I know it is charming. And then just to sum this up, because we only have 50 minutes, we started the podcast in 2017 after we were on another podcast called Sex with Emily. Amy and I were both single at the time. I was newly divorced from that Israeli who I still think is awesome. Shout out to you. And we wanted it to be just a passion project with no intention of it blowing up. And then slowly but surely, we realized how incredibly gifted the world of talking about sex openly on podcasts, how gifted it is to be able to do that, and how much of the world needed that. And we kept receiving more and more feedback about how important our work was. And we've had Willow on the show multiple times. And so Shameless Sex sort of fell into our hands, and it's become both of our passion and life work, not just a project now, but our actual our way of life. And we're now able to we're the top, we range between the top 2 to 4, but usually 2 to 3 top sexuality podcasts in the world. So
wow, congratulations. That's phenomenal.
It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. And that's just in 5 years time of doing the podcast, right?
Yeah, we just hit our 5
Yeah, we didn't realize.
anniversary.
Someone let us know, like, yeah, so you just had your 5-year anniversary. We're like, what? Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
We should have it. We should have like a piece of cake later or something. So
I ate half of that milk
Yeah.
bar cake in there. I just ate some this morning for breakfast.
I'll have a bite
So you
later.
can have that with me.
And I just want to also add, to this day with the podcast, we still work for sex toy companies. So I work for a lubricant company called Uberlube. April's the VP of a company called Hot Octopus. We go to trade shows all the time and see all the toys that are currently are out and available. So my mom and I still own purepleasureshop.com. So we're still very immersed in the sex toy world, and we do Shameless Sex as well.
Nice. Let's talk about sex toys. Let's move into that.
Let's talk about
Where
sex.
should we begin?
Well, I just heard of one. I almost went to go look for it
the
yesterday, but since you ladies were coming on, I'm like, oh, I should ask them. So I think it's called The Rose. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, tell us
We
everything.
were just talking about this yesterday. Amy's like, what's up with all the hype with the rose? I was like, I'm not sure.
So I asked April, because I've been in multiple sex shops. Part of our job is for working for these companies is we go and visit sex shops all over. Well, I'm more regional. April's pretty global, actually. But anyways, we go in these sex shops and we see all these other toys, and the buyers will teach us about these other toys. Like, do you know what about the rose? And I was like, what is with this rose thing? And there's a lot of hype about it. My understanding is the Rose is a smaller version of the suction vibes that Womanizer and Satisfier created.
The air pulse technology, which is this new, it sounds like this, like,
but when it's on your body, it's a little quieter.
Right. But it sounds like that when it's off. I think it sounds almost like a frog riveting, which to me was the most distracting piece of using that product because I'm all about sound and I'm used to vibration. So vibration would sound like, right? And this is more like, which is the best way to describe it. I'm sorry.
And it's a combo. So the original company, I think Womanizer was the first. I know, terrible name, but German. They came out with this technology first years ago, and since then, other companies have started to make their own version of these products. And they're generally like almost like more handheld, not like full magic wand
They
style.
look like ear thermometers that you would put into your ear at the doctor's office.
But the Rose, I think, is a small version of it, and so I think that's kind of some of the hype. Is it gives you like this almost light suction, but it is still vibrating and it's a little more compact. Is my understanding.
There's also, and I don't advocate for this or I don't advocate for how the length of time it takes you to have an orgasm, but a lot of their marketing was you have an orgasm in 2 minutes or less because it's that good. So because
everyone's the same,
because everyone is exactly the same. Yes. This is why I don't advocate for it, but that was the hype.
As quick as possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. I was using some vibrators last night. I didn't have any orgasms. My body was a no last night. I was like, all right, well, that's where we're at.
And that's perfect.
I blew my clit out when I was 23 by using the magic wand. So now I can't even use air pulse technology because when I do, I'm like, this is not working for me. I need something
stronger.
Really,
her body.
Do you know that power tool? If you take 30 days off, all your clitoral nerve endings will come back to life.
Yeah, vibrator. We call it a vibrator. I've called it a vibrator strike. She calls it a vibrator fast.
I call it a cleanse. Yeah,
cleanse. Yeah, of course. Yeah, nice. Yeah, yours is much more gentle, Willow. Yes. I'm gonna go with that. A vibrator or a clitoral cleanse.
Clitoral cleanse. Yeah. Tell us what you guys know about that. Like what happens to the clitoral nerve endings when you use vibrators consistently and regularly?
So it's kind of a common misconception or myth, we'll call it, that I'll bust, that I talk to people about, and Amy does as well, that your nerve endings, obviously the vibration can numb them out for a period of time, depending on the human body. But what's really happening is the dopamine that's released, your body basically, because your brain is your biggest sex organ, becomes accustomed to that sensation. So it will require the vibration again and again. It's almost like an addiction where your body is so used to this that that's where the break comes in. So you can actually learn to have the dopamine that's released during orgasm from a specific sensation, just like the same that goes with porn. If you watch porn all the time and that's how you can orgasm, if you're with an actual human, it might be more difficult for you to have that release.
So then you take a porn fast.
Right. So when people ask that all the time, is it true you can get desensitized? The truth is it may desensitize you for a specific portion of time, depending on the body and the human. However, it won't be something that will damage you forever unless you're burning yourself, or which would actually do permanent damage, or your piercings, things like that will actually more permanently damage those nerve endings.
I think there's something to be said too. Also, I 100% agree with April, with the brain being the largest sex organ. So when you're taking that cleanse, and then there's the vagus nerve, we know, connects from, we got the brain and the throat all the way down, like this longest nerve ending system that connects to our pelvic floor. So it makes sense that something happening in our pelvic floor would connect and affect the entire body, and the brain sending on these signals and all these different pieces there. And so there's something to be said about, it's almost like we're just animals, kind of, like you train your dog and you ring
like an animal.
Oh my God.
Are we allowed to say the F word?
Yeah.
That's just happened.
Or it did. Sorry. We want to train a dog to do something. We need repetition to train over and over again, but we're almost like we're doing this reverse repetition of not using the thing. And then maybe just like not touching our clitoris for a while, or just using our hands without the intention of having an orgasm, or maybe not intention, but a goal, like being so driven. And I've personally, as someone who used to only have orgasms from vibrators, had to take these strikes, these cleanses, to learn, and I chose it though, because we believe here, pleasure is pleasure. Like if you're just getting off to a vibrator and you're fine with that, go ahead. Yeah. Yes, knock yourself out. If you have a partner that's like, there's something wrong with you, you need to learn to get off to my cock. You do you, and don't change this just because, unless in my opinion is just for someone else. I like to change it for yourself too, if that's important to you. But as you all know, I know what you teach, and I've been to many of Leah's classes and seen what you teach, Willow. I mean, you two teach. You're the masters of teaching people the power of their bodies and how to move through these barriers that they get stuck in. And you do it in different ways, but also there's a reason why y'all working together over there. Here I'm interviewing you, damn it, or I'll stop.
Okay, so I've got a clarifying question. Really, I just want to, from your opinion, make sure that what I'm representing to people is accurate, because I'm not a sex toy expert, but I have worked with a lot of people who feel like their climaxes are really numbed out, or they're one note. And they're not able to like raise the ceiling up higher in a way that they would really like to. It's like they know how to get relief, but they're not reaching ecstasy. And since I'm limited in my knowledge in terms of like where to point them in regards to other sex toys, I typically tell them to take a break from a vibrator, but still use a dildo. And if they're feeling, if that creates anxiety or panic, the idea of like, oh my God, but I need my vibrator and it just is like just too much overwhelm, then my advice typically is to wean themselves, not do a fast, but wean themselves off the vibrator by putting their hand where they would normally put the vibrator. And then to put the vibrator on top of their fingers that is touching the area that would normally touch their skin. And then each time they self-pleasure, or if they're with a partner, they just move the vibrator like a quarter of an inch, a half an inch, or an inch higher on their hand until they're going all the way up their arm. So that they're still getting the vibrational pulse, but it's not like a supercharged pulse, so that their body can reacclimate to still getting sensation, but without the attachment or the need to have it be on superpower, so that their brain can reestablish a different neural pathway that's a different pathway than the habit. It's like there's a groove in the brain that gets stronger and stronger and deeper the more we just have one way of getting off. And the idea is let's have multiple ways of getting off. And I imagine that various vibrators and toys can help create those different pathways so that we've got lots of pathways to Orgasm Lake, not just one. So what would you correct?
I think that's brilliant. So I wouldn't correct that. I would stick with what you're doing, but here's a couple things I would add. One would be use the vibrator on yourself while touching yourself in other ways. So say you want to learn how to get off to you having your fingers in the first inch of the vaginal canal, like through some circular motion, or like maybe a finger, or to kind of touching the G area or something like that.
Or up your butt,
wherever.
Yeah.
You combine them at the same time, using the vibrator, and the minute it feels like you're getting close to orgasming the vibrator, you take the vibrator away, but you keep doing the other thing.
Okay.
And you might not orgasm though. Like, don't get set on having an orgasm. Keep doing the other thing, and then you're like, okay, I didn't orgasm. Now bring the vibrator back. Okay. And then you're kind of doing this, like, it's almost like
edging. Yeah.
But you're programming this other part. I mean, people have done this with spinal cord injuries where they're learning how to have orgasms in other parts of their bodies. And so you can actually use the sex toy in the way that you did, but you're just like pulling it away when you get close to the point of orgasm, but you're still touching yourself in this other way or area in the way that you would like to learn how to orgasm. Or like you could do penetrative sex, right? We're having penetrative sex. And then I pull the vibrator right before orgasm. But the thing is that people need to be okay with, you might not orgasm that time, the next time, maybe not that day, maybe not for a week of practicing this.
Right.
But you can, a lot of people through this, it's discipline, right? It's super disciplined, but they often can learn. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, she's got better words. You sound like so much more
devotion to
gentle than mine.
Orgasmic pathway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. That's great. I often will tell people, like, when they don't know how to have vaginal orgasms or G-spot orgasms or anal orgasms, I will tell them, use your clitoris to build the highway. To those other nerve plexuses, to the pelvic nerve, pudendal nerve, stimulate it, then that will create a wire to the pelvic nerve, that'll create a wire to the hypogastric nerve, so that you can have anal orgasms and vaginal orgasms, because for a lot of people, they don't feel them yet. But the clitoris is an amazing highway that you can connect the two. It's almost like the clitoris feeds the other orgasms, and you just got to know how to, like, build that highway bridge.
Yeah. It's like Hungry Hippo.
Yeah. It's like Hungry Hippo.
Or like whack-a-mole. That's what my partner calls me. It's like, sometimes you're like whack-a-mole. Like 1 minute, it seems like you're getting off.
You beat the little.
Yeah, but it keeps moving in a different spot. So
is anybody from PETA out there? We're talking about a game.
Yeah, we're talking about abuse, but it's like all of a sudden, here comes Amy's orgasm in the spot. And then oh, no, actually it changed. Now it needs this other thing. Now it needs a finger on the nipple. And like, oh, no, now it needs another thing. And he's just like following whack-a-mole around wherever my pleasure's going.
That means he has to stay hyper present to what's going on with your body.
He's good at that. Oh, he's really good at that.
I'm also really glad that you brought up this piece about like not having orgasm be the goal. Yeah. Because I think that's what gets people really trapped in not being able to have orgasms. Yeah. Is it gets so fixated on having to have one that it's almost like a sabotage. How do you redirect? Like, what's your advice in redirecting someone away from necessarily orgasm?
Well, this probably would be a better conversation to have with Amy as well, because she talks about sometimes on her sexual journey. I'm one of those folks that I love instant gratification, and I don't always go into an experience with myself or with a partner expecting an orgasm to happen. I treat it as a bonus. However, I really, in my brain, I'm like, oh, I want this to happen. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And a lot of times it will. And I think retraining your brain to have it be the bonus rather than the goal is what we always recommend, where whenever that's where the presence comes in. And I know you both are present. You're both very good at being present, because I've hung out with both of you individually and together. And that's something that for me has been the biggest challenge, is being present in the moment to feel all the sensations and not think about the orgasm, but the journey. And that is it's simple, but it's almost like a meditation where you're listening to the breath, you're listening to the sounds that are around you, you're feeling the heartbeat of yourself or the others, you're dropping into the moment and the experience, you're feeling the sensation of touch rather than just genital touch, but touch on the body. And Amy, like one time Amy was telling me about her partner. She's like, yeah, he gave me a vulva massage for about 30 minutes. And I was like, that sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
not her jam.
No
I'm like, it's a
way. She's like, really? You wouldn't like that? I'm like, no.
Just external too, by the way.
Yeah,
all
not going inside.
Nothing going inside at all. And April's like, I would hate that. That's not her jam.
Maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm an exception to the rule. But for me, I would be.
She's a doer.
Maybe you just haven't had the right vulva massage yet.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying. I mean, I could rent out my partner for a day.
Vulva massage. Yeah, exactly.
maybe this is it. But even the idea of sitting there for that long, I need some kind of 5-minute indication ding, like bell to ding, so I would know how many dings.
Break it up. Yeah. Yes. April would need like rounds, right?
Yeah. There's like someone who's in the ring with round a sign held up right in there.
I could deal with that. That actually would be a better way for me to go
more
into
entertaining for you.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people actually use time as like the orgasmic meditation practice. They're all about timers, like set a 15-minute timer. And some people they need more like regimented time windows. They need to know, and that's okay. I mean, I identify as one of those people in a lot of ways too. The other thing I would add to what April said is just, it's hard to just say, okay, I'm going to make it. The goal is not orgasm. Orgasm's a bonus. But a lot of us are like, but so what the fuck are we doing? I still need a goal, or like I need an intention. That's Willow, intention, not goal. Right?
There you go, girl.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
right word. You got it. You got the word that time.
So if you need an intention or a goal, what if it's just presence of sensation? So just my intention is to focus on all the sensations which is hard to do. That's why April said it's a meditation. So as there's fingers on my nipples or rubbing down my belly, I'm just focusing on that happening on my body. Or as I'm touching someone else, I'm just focusing on the sensations of what it feels like to have me touching them, or maybe what their body's doing, them the moaning or their body's starting to kind of glow and glisten. And so maybe that could be a goal or intention, is to focus on presence or sensation. Or if you need another goal or intention that feels closer to orgasm than just pleasure, so just, being set on a journey towards pleasure, meaning things that feel good in a pleasurable, maybe erotic way. So, and I think then we can bring in this broader scale of like, if we work from like a 0 being like, actually let's go to the -2. -2 is pain. This feels terrible. 0 is numb. And a 10 is O-town, like big orgasm, like, woo, let's make that the transcendent one. And then make a 9, like the orgasm you're talking about, Leah. That's like, well, it's a little something, but kind of didn't go a lot of places. And then we can look at it as like a 5 of just being like, okay, I'm feeling some things and that's nice. And I can hang out there and like, okay. And this maybe works more for heady people, but April and I identify as pretty heady people, where it can be like, all right, I'm hanging out at a 7. It's not quite just like explosive orgasm. It's a lot of pleasure. And for me, honestly, hanging out at like a 7 through 8 or 9 for a half an hour sometimes is even way better than going to the 10 here and there.
That's right.
Amen. Yeah. I am all about like 7, 8s, and 9s, because 10 to me has gotten to the point where it means it's over.
Yeah.
And I love to play with the range of like almost tipping over and then like cooling it down, and then getting back to that place where it's like, oh my God, I could tip over. I don't want to. And then it feels like I'm having an orgasm for 5 minutes, not just like that whiteout that lasts a few seconds. Mm-hmm. And I really like what you said about it being like the bonus. An orgasm, one of the things that we often say, and the reason why I'm loving what you're saying is because it gives more range and variety, is we often talk about make the goal love and orgasms will follow.
Or make the goal fucking.
But that's just the thing. Not everyone is actually having a love experience with someone that they want to like get down and dirty with. Yeah. So that's not always the best languaging. So I love like the bonus languaging. My typical response is, look, if it's just a fuck buddy and it's not really about love, I mean, there's the emotion of love and there's the energy of love. And I can explain what those things are, but it's still not the right languaging. So I think it's really great to have variety in the languaging that we use, because it's not all about love, people. It's just about fucking, like April said.
If you want an 18-year-old frat boy on the show, you have one right now. Okay, right here in the flesh.
And some people, I remember being a younger person before who didn't really have energetic experiences of sexual connection with people. And I was just, I'd had sex with, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 10 people by that time, but I never had this like expansive experience of like almost like we're one, and 2 hours have gone by, but it feels like 5 hours of bliss, whatever, and then I finally experienced that. So before that, I'd say, I don't make love, I fuck. And then when I experienced that, I was like, oh, I know what it's like to make love now. And I didn't have to do that with people I loved, though.
Right.
It was there was like but for me, the safer and more connected and respected I felt, the more likely I was able to go to those places. If those things weren't available, I personally would have a hard time going there with someone.
I was just going to say, enough about love. Let's talk about sex toys.
Okay, but I do want to make this one point, because there was something that April mentioned, because I really relate to and even though, yes, I can do the expanded and make love long and long and long, my mind is so busy. I got shit that needs to get done, or I'm hungry. And so those things take precedence. And if I'm in a stage of my sexuality where I'm not really all that connected to it, or I'm not all that in the mood, or it's just not super alive in me, then it almost feels like sexuality and intimacy can be like a chore. And I have to have strategies to show up, so that, because I've proven to myself that if I show up and by the time it's over, I'm super glad I showed up, because it's like, why would I ever blow this off, or maybe I should blow it off more often. So what you're saying about like the whole timer thing, I think one of the things that's helped is for me to say, I get a 5-minute rule. I'm going to show up for this intimacy hour because I said I would. But if I can't drop in, if I am just spinning out, then I get to say, I tried, I love you, later, and move on to something else. And what often happens is then that 5 minutes turns into 25 minutes or like whatever. And that whole piece around like the vulva massage, it's variety. We're all so freaking different. Like, I would prefer someone sort of touch me without touching me. Like, I like the space between touch. That's going to get me off more than someone just rubbing me and rubbing me and rubbing me. I couldn't tolerate that for 5 minutes. So it's like, I think, like, I want to invite the audience to go, this is so different for everybody. We're probably all capable of receiving a hot, sexy vulva massage for 30 minutes. but we don't know the keys sometimes to sustain that until we really explore range. And range can only happen with variety when it comes to touch.
Yeah. So for me, touch is important. It's not the thing that really gets me. I love hot makeout sessions.
Okay.
And then talking about what's going to happen.
That dirty talk.
Really,
dirty talk.
Yes, is really helpful. And then adding a product, a toy and a sex toy with some fingers, and then some of my what I love feeling special. So some of tapping into my love language of words of affirmation are really important for me. That alone will start to just have my pussy be in tingle mode. And then I know what's going to happen. I was like, oh yeah. And then if someone says, especially if my partner's like, oh, I can feel you're going to orgasm. Like I can feel the blood pumping. I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is so hot. And then I'm just like, ah. So that does help. But a 30-minute vulva massage, oh, hell no. I mean, like that's too much pressure for me right now.
That is so good that you listed like 4 to 6 things, you know, that kind of come in, that are all play, that are all variety, that are all have like a system to work. Because so many people listening have no idea that there are these elements that really amp up and feed how big is big. So keep giving us those distinctions. Those are really good.
Yeah, I'm here for you.
Okay, sex toys.
Sex toys.
So if somebody has never used a sex toy before, I was just talking to a potential client the other day, and she's been, struggling with these orgasms that are like a fraction of a fraction. It's like, it's barely anything. Right. And she's like, how do I raise the sensation of it, the frequency, the vibration of it? And so I started asking questions. Do you use a vibrator? Have you ever used anything before? No, she hadn't. So that was a whole edgy thing for her, just getting started with using a toy at all. So what's
a good beginner
introductory-
toy? Yeah.
What's the beginners?
Great question.
I'll start with because Amy for sure started younger than I did. And when she provided me with my first vibrator, I had no idea what I would have tried or even would have purchased if I had walked through a sex shop, or now we have online capabilities. However, I think that what was great about the first product that she gave me was that it was very low frequency of vibration. So the intensity was really low, and it was a vibrator. I had always, since 5 years old, I think I was 5.5, I humped a teddy bear, right? So that was my masturbation. So I know that I needed external stimulation, and I had rarely, if ever at the time, orgasm from penetrative sex. So orgasm for me was tied simply to my self-pleasure practices or masturbation practices, right? It actually took me a long time to train my brain on how to have orgasm in a partnership experience, because it was always this private thing that I did it was closeted, right? I didn't know what I was doing at the time was orgasm. It just felt really good. So humping this teddy bear was great, but I'd never really used my fingers. It was always a pillow or a teddy bear. So I think starting, depending on who you are, remember there's about 85% of vulva owning humans out there will orgasm from external stimulation, and you can learn to experience other orgasms in other ways. That is not the one size fits all approach, but starting with a vibrator that is external most likely will be something that will help you. And the lay spot that Amy had given me, you could lay on it. So it was a low vibration that I could lay on and kind of hump. So it was external. It would kind of,
I didn't even know about humping the teddy bear at the time.
No, she didn't. Yeah. I did not share that with her until later.
Time humper myself too.
Yeah,
oh, nice.
Give me a sheet in between my legs.
I was all about the pillow.
Yeah. Happened
or
to
like, or the armrest of a couch. You know.
Yes. Well, I wasn't home alone. No, I mean, maybe some couches where I wasn't home alone thinking about being open in the couch that was like exposed. That's why I was in my room with my teddy bear alone and with the door closed. And so I think that maybe an external vibe that has, start with the lower frequency of vibration. And if that's just not enough for you, meaning it's not happening, you're getting maybe these little the tinges of orgasms, and it's just, you could also try, you could try a rabbit style vibrator, meaning something with an internal external capability that you kind of insert and play with the modes. You can also try you could try one of the Air Pulse technology products. Amy loves those. I think that, and this is my last piece about this, I think when you start off with and I love the magic wand, right? The magic wand is this, it used to be called the Hitachi magic wand. Hitachi didn't want to be associated with sex toys. So they sold off the name and now it's just the magic wand. They used to have, it was a back massager that had this 80s lady with a leotard on it, on the, on the front. And everyone was using it as a sex toy, but it's the size of a baseball bat. Now they have a smaller one.
Quite huge.
It's huge. And this is my only bit of history for you within this recording is that they've never, the voltage isn't compatible with places in Europe and or Australia. So that product has never been out in those markets, those regions. It's primarily in the United States. And people in those countries from my global sex toy years as selling sex toys all over the world, no one has had access. So everyone in those countries wants low frequency of vibration. And in the States, I swear to you, I've had the magic wand. I got it after this Leah spot and after another one. And ever since then, I need like the strongest
so
like power tool.
Power queen.
And I now whenever I feel a toy, I'm like, that's not going to work for me. I need something stronger. I need something stronger. I blew up my clit when I was 25. I didn't blow out my clit. And I do think it's association and what the bodies do with the amount of intense frequency. And there's rumbly and buzzy and low. So, and Amy, I'm sure has something to speak to this, but that's my theory that I postulate to share with everyone. So if you are new to vibrators, I would recommend starting low or going with the air pulse tech and then learn about your body.
So basically not starting with a magic wand, basically.
Yes.
I would go,
That's what I did. And it was like, holy shit.
It's a lot, right? Like you could use that over like 4 pairs of jeans.
That's how first time I ejaculated was from a magic wand.
So what I'm not saying, so what I'm saying is if you're new to sex toys and you have not really explored it yet, so you don't have this big orgasm barrier necessarily. It's not like you've tried everything and nothing's working. Because if you tried everything and nothing's working, go get the magic wand. It's probably going to give you an orgasm.
Right.
And the magic
go get
wand,
the baseball bat.
Yeah, go get the baseball bat. But it also, the electric version is just the only 2 settings, strong and stronger.
That's what I have. That's what I first have. I still have it.
They now have a rechargeable and a mini rechargeable that has lighter vibration options too. So you could start with a mini rechargeable wand and start at that. And so going with what April's saying, so first, that was one example. Like you tried all other things, you tried all these sex toys, none of them are working. You're not having the orgasm. Go get the magic wand. If you want a new sex toy, like what April was saying, yes, multiple speeds is super important. Start with the lower ones, really play around with those as much as you can, because if you get accustomed to the higher setting really, really quickly, that's what happens. The brain's like, well, that's our one, we like that one. And then there's what would we call it? A vibrator, cleanse. Then you might, eventually want or need to take a vibrator cleanse, but those multiple speeds I think are really important. And whether it's just external or internal, that's up to you to decide. But like April said, most people are using the vibrations or having the orgasms from
they're
clitorals.
Discontinuing the Leah spot too, by the way. They are. So that one's not recommended, but if you want external, that's something that's hands-free that you can lay on like that. There are other options.
They look more like kind of like a curve.
Right.
What are they?
Yeah, I want something that's like options? That kind of molds to the vulva and then just dances it.
Hot Octopus is making one right as we speak right now. That's almost done, called the Queen V with the like Queen Vulva. And it's going to, I saw it, and it's with oscillating pulse plate technology. It's not available yet. However, by the time this year ends, we're in 2022, it's supposed to release in Q4. So in December, we should have the Queen V, which will be really cool. I'm helping with some of the process of designing it. And there are other ones you could do hands-free that you can kind of lay on.
WeVibe makes a couple things like the Wish by WeVibe. And it's like this blue, almost looks like, it's not like the size, it's smaller than my hand, but it kind of cups the body.
The Moxie too, which sits in your
like underwear. Yeah, it's an underwear vibe.
So there's the Moxie, there's
the WeVibe Wish. I think they still make the Wish.
The WeVibe is for when you're with a partner, right?
Well, no, they make multiple things. That's a brand that makes multiple products. And they started with that one that has the part like almost like a C where one part goes inside, and then there's 2 motors. One's on the kind of G area and one is on the clitoris.
I want to speak to
one more.
What
are they calling the Hitachi? That's not the
magic wand.
That's the magic one
from Vibrators. One thing that people don't think about now, and I'm speaking to vibrating cock rings, because when we think of cock rings, folks think about, that's for a penis. However, you can use these on a dildo if you wanted to. You could use them in a hand. You can also use them in partner play. And there's one called the Atom Plus that I helped design because I loved.
You gave me one of those, April.
Yeah, I have one too.
Yes, it's
awesome.
Did
you hand them out?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, she did.
At a retreat. And I love it so much. If the person that's wearing it, you have to prep for that. And they're not all the same. Some of them, you don't have to wait until the person's flaccid. So if they're semi-erect or if they're totally erect, you cannot get this particular product on. What I'm saying is that like vibrating cock rings are a great way to grind on something, on a penis owner, on a dildo, that you can have hands-free grinding stimulation on your external bits. And it can be quite pleasurable if you wanted to learn how to do that. That might seem extreme if you've never used a product before on your own. However, if you are partnered up and your partner has a penis and they're into wanting to check that out, you could incorporate that into your playtime to add a little bit of spice and zest and something different, variety.
So tell us about the Atom that you created.
So the Atom Plus, there's two versions. The Atom Plus, it's with ATOM, is a dual motored cock ring. So there's bottom portion is for the perineum, and so it has a perineum stimulation nub that people on the West Coast call it the taint. Some on the East Coast call it the gooch. So whatever you want to call it.
The rest of us call it a perineum.
Yes, yeah. I say perineum. Yes,
yeah.
I know. Someone's asked me.
When you're from Michigan, you say perineum.
I can't
I've
say
never
that.
heard gooch before.
Gooch. That's what they call it in Brooklyn. Shout out
the K spot, the Kundalini spot.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Yoni Nadi.
That's for
Yoni
Yoni. Oh, there we go. It depends on who you're talking to.
Ooh, we got words for words for words.
So what happens is this product, it's stretchy. We actually engineered and invented this coil system that connects the top portion to the bottom perineum stimulation part. So what happens is you stick each testicle in, you stuff the rest of your soft bits in, your soft shaft, and you change it from horizontal to vertical. So that switch, what happens when you have an erection or blood flow happening, it constricts the blood flow to hold the package into place so you can last longer if you want to.
Okay.
And when you turn it on, it makes the entire shaft from base to tip vibrate. And because of the shape of it, it has the Hot Octopus logo is on the outside with a little nub.
So
I am trying this tonight.
You have to try it.
One,
they just have to be. They have to be
been sitting in my drawer since you gave it to me.
And it stretches. Don't be afraid to stretch it. And the bottom portion it's Hot Octopus Atom Plus. The bottom portion is where you turn it on and off. I'm going to give you a tutorial, Willow, off air after this, so you can feel comfortable about, because that's the hardest part is figuring out how to turn it on and off. And when it's on the body, it can be tricky. But that in general, it's designed with this logo that, because of the wishbone shape of the clitoris, when you're grinding on that, it's instant orgasm if you're on the top, if you're riding the penis owner.
I think what I have, it just looks like it is one ring. To put both testicles in.
That one is one ring for the shaft, the Atom. So we have one motor version of that one. That's a basic. You can also use that as a handheld product if you want, or on a dildo.
No balls.
And then we have
a
dual motored Atom Plus that has 2 motors. So depending, I don't remember what I gave each of you, but they're both, the motors are really beautiful. They're this really, and you'll learn, the more you experience vibration, you'll kind of learn what your body likes. If it likes buzzy, if it likes deep and rumbly, if it likes more of the high pitched, if it likes the air pulse tech. Mine loves the more high pitched, buzzy. Yes, I feel like it's more penetrative, and you'll figure it out. But that motor is this rumbly, deep, penetrative motor that feels almost buzzy.
So, April, will you send us a link of this one that it sounds like you put one testicle in one, another testicle in the other, and then it goes from horizontal to vertical, preventing the testicles from going up into the body to release the ejaculation, keeps them lowered to delay ejaculation. This could change some lives.
We have a Lux version too, where it's remote controlled. So you can be like, hey babe, I'm turning you on.
And it has 2 motors. So on one on top, one on the bottom. So kind of whatever position you're in, you're getting vibrations. Like everyone's getting vibrations. And the cock rings, like April was saying, if you're trying to receive the vibrations as the receiver, so the one not wearing it, is more about grinding. Like if you're doing the thrusting thing, you're just getting these little teases on your bits. So it is more of like a grinding sensation that our bodies would be doing together. But the double motor makes it double the pleasure, because like we can change positions. The motor just keeps going. There's a motor everywhere, almost everywhere, but you know what I mean.
It's one of my favorite products on the market, and most of the external ticklers when you go and shop at sex shops. This was something that I realized working at purepleasureshop.com, that it
before the .com,
all of the before the .com, but all of the ticklers were shaped bunny ears, or they were pointed. And vulvas are like fingerprints. We know this because all of us have one. So be proud of your vulva. It is
all of us on the screen.
All of us on the screen. All of this is what I'm saying. All of us that have one. If you haven't looked at a lot of vulvas in a row, yours is going to be individual. And now you know it's just like a fingerprint. So Amy and I are definitely hung differently, and we're proud of that. And so
we are.
Having something that is a tickler, like a bunny ears, a lot of times I would cut them off of the cock ring. And that's why I thought the grinding part would be really pivotal for a vulva owner fucking a dildo or making love to a penis.
Well, what I'm kind of interested in is helping men with premature ejaculation. I mean, yes, I want all the vulva owners out there to be able to grind and get down and get it all that they want. But I'm also really wanting to support those with premature ejaculation have success and not feel like they have to avoid intimacy or be embarrassed or be filled with shame. And it sounds like the product that you're talking about can really assist with that. Am I following you right?
Yes, we say it helps with ejaculatory control.
Okay.
Because premature sometimes can
premature for whom?
Right. Some people might have a negative awareness around what it means to have erectile dysfunction. It feels like it's a dysfunction. So we say issues, and then we say ejaculatory control versus premature ejaculation, because the premature part can sound rough to some folks, and it does. We don't want to. I and Amy is really great about this too, reframing the brain and the shame in the brain, like reframe the shame and get rid of the premature, because yes, it might not be premature for someone. Someone might be into quickies, what's quickie, right? That's all relative. So it does help with ejaculatory control because it will help with longevity because of the constriction of the blood flow. It also means if you do have any ejaculation issues, meaning if you have something your cock isn't getting hard when you want it to, it will help actually with longevity in that you can sustain erections.
One thing to know about cock rings. So if you're trying to do what you're all talking about is to constrict the blood flow to either postpone ejaculation or to maintain a harder cock, a couple of things need to happen. One, it does have to go around the testicles. So if you put it just on the shaft, it's not going to do those things. And a lot of people go into sex shop and they're like, oh, you just put on the shaft, right? Like, no, the balls go in there too, except for the regular Atom sex toy. There are some that are designed just for the shaft, but that's just to put a vibrator on a cock. The other thing is if someone has erectile issues to the point where they cannot get blood flow in their cock at all, this might be like they're diabetic, they're on medication, cock rings still probably won't work for them. Cock pumps probably won't work for them either. They have to be able to still get some sort of blood flow there. Like a cock ring is not going to be the magic blue pill for those people. So there has to be at least some sort of blood flow there for the cock ring to constrict around to keep the blood there to keep the erection.
However, Hot Octopuss makes something that was designed from 9 years of medical research, actually now 15 years going on. I just read a report that will help with blood flow to the penis. So it actually helps with erectile issues.
You're talking about the vibrator,
the pulse.
Yes,
the pulse toys.
That's
There's a solo duo.
Yeah, but if someone's on some sort of heart medication or something, and their cock just never gets,
or they've had a prostatectomy, yes, totally.
Throwing a cock ring on it probably isn't going to do.
No, it won't,
and you'll have an unhappy customer. At least we saw that at Pure Pleasure. So yeah,
there you go.
And we don't like those unhappy customers.
No, we don't.
You know? Well, we love you, but we just want everyone to be happy.
Well, I think my experience has been, having worked with a lot of men with this direct issue, is you don't even need a cock ring. You can use your hand and grip the base like a cock ring can, and then you can stroke. And people who mentally believe they cannot have an erection, it's a mind shift, and they don't have their prostate anymore. I mean, I've watched people who have convinced they've never had an erection in 20 years. And I'm like, excuse me, you have an erection right now. Would you look down and check it out? So I think sometimes it's the mind that makes up a choice and makes up a decision, or there's a doctor that has said, you're not capable of this, or you have no blood flow, or this likely won't happen. And then that belief system actually, again, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where you really just have to start talking to your body differently.
This is the sex. The biggest sex organ is your brain.
And the longer we hang out in the story, the longer it takes to come out of the story too, right? So if you hung on that story for 20 years, for most people, it's not this overnight thing, and it's a long time to live in this idea of who I am as a sexual being. But
one of the things I love about sexuality as a healing tool, though, is it's exponential in its ability to shift those stories and to shift that thinking. Like I've walked the world over with healing modalities and tried them all and have done them all. And the sexual healing of not only the physical body, but those neural pathways in the brain of like, I can only come this one way, or I can't get hard, or I don't last long and I come too early, or whatever, all the stories. I have found that is the most potent and the most powerful and quickest way to really eradicate a lot of that much, much faster than you would be able to otherwise.
Definitely. Well, I think what you're really pointing to is it comes back sometimes to that quick fix. People go in with an expectation. I want this to make everything better. And if it doesn't, then again, I'm a failure. And so we have to sort of use our minds in a more powerful way. We need to be more curious and be more open and less like, okay, I just want to have this quick fix. Quick fixes are great, but this is a journey. Like who we are as sexual beings is an unfolding. And we go through stages and we go through seasons. And there are times when things work for us for so many years, and now suddenly they don't work for us anymore. And we got to be mutable and adaptable.
And Leah,
and you know what I mean?
That is a good point that I just want to highlight, because what you just said is really important for folks out there who have tried a vibrator and it hasn't worked for them, who have tried a sex toy a specific way at a specific time in their life, it hasn't worked for them. And they assume that sex toys in general won't work for them, right? And this is where the key is, and you're the key holder, is to try new things, add more to the menu. And just because one thing didn't work for you doesn't mean that I tried anal that one time and anal's not for me. It hurt, right? You have to revisit, and you have to understand that our bodies are changing every single day. And just because one particular sex toy didn't work for you at one point in your life doesn't mean all of them are bad or all of them won't work for you. And that's also fun to explore. You're like the map holder to your own body, seeking the treasure that's buried deep within. Ooh, Willow, do you approve of that analogy?
I love that.
Willow
likes. Got the stamp of approval over here.
You know, I think that's such a good reminder, because I think I've been that person who has sort of made up my mind like, oh, I've really never found one that that felt like it was meant for me. And then it's, oh, and they're so expensive. And how many times do I want to keep on trying something and for it not to work out? And I don't want to waste my money. Like there's a story you can start to talk yourself out of experimenting. And this is why I think what you two are doing is so important, is because you're allowing us to have a conversation and to get these different opinions and to be exposed to all sorts of variety of options. We get to stay safe, because sometimes this stuff's hard to talk about, and we can have different sensations arise, and we don't necessarily want to talk to the stranger behind the counter about sex toys or what's working for us or what's not working for us, even though they look really nice. We're embarrassed. And so I think the podcast framework is so helpful, because people get to tune in and listen and have their hearts and minds opened, so they realize that this is an adventure. And then you can get a clue of where would be it sounds like how they're describing this would be the financial risk I'd be willing to take to see if it works. And instead of feeling like you got to try 10 things that you hate and to waste all this money, you've got people who are talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you have any other tips or resources where people can still kind of feel private until they get more comfortable with being more open about sexuality, to start to expand their life a little bit.
Well, I mean, obviously listen to podcasts because that is in your own realm. But so if you're not ready to go into a sex shop, I know like for us at purepleasureshop.com, the store I have with my mom, we invite people to send us an email and you say what you're looking for. So I've never owned a vibrator before. I want to buy a vibrator. I don't know what to get. And we would probably respond with like, okay, well, let's ask you a couple questions first and to help you. And then we would send you some recommendations. So it's super private. You know, we don't give your information away. We send you links to various things that from what we can tell you're looking for might support that. I can't speak for all sex shops, but I would say go with a sex positive sex shop like Pure Pleasure is one of them. Sex positive means like we only carry high quality toys that are non-toxic. There's a lot of sex toys on the market that still are made of toxic materials that smell like crazy weird plasticky things, and they are not good for your body, especially vulvas. And so that's an easy way. And butts, yeah, or basically orifices in mucous membranes. You don't want that there. And so a sex positive store like Pure Pleasure, we don't carry that there, and we can help you find it. Just send us an email. You can send it to, I think it's shop@purepleasureshop.com. And for all of our listeners at Shameless Sex, which anywhere we are talking about Pure Pleasure, they get 15% off with coupon code Shameless Sex. You can also email us sex questions at Shameless Sex. We can't answer all of them, but we sometimes feature them in the intro of our episodes of people asking about sex toys. But we get a lot of emails.
They could also do a search on our shamelesssex.com. You could put in the search bar what your question is, whether it's sex toys or anal or I want to learn more about the gooch. I don't know if we have gooch in there.
We don't know.
You can go. We do highlight which questions we are discussing on the show, and it's usually in the intro.
And a lot of episodes on sex toys.
We do. We do absolutely.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about. In my mind, there's sex toys for women. There's sex toys for the couple. What about just for the man?
Those the Vibrator she was just talking about over there.
The Vibrator.
The Vibrator. It's called the Pulse. It's by Hot Octopus. We actually have a worldwide patent. We license the technology from the medical side. It uses what's called an oscillating pulse plate. And what happened? Why it's I like to call it the automatic masturbator. There's also a couples version that doesn't require a hard cock to play with. That incorporates vulva play with penis owning humans playing and so I also like to say it's safer than popping a Viagra or a Cialis, because if you are on certain medications, SSRIs, you're not supposed to mix and match those meds. And if you're not, sometimes this is a more price sensitive option to explore rather than saying cheap, because it's much more affordable than buying a Viagra, right? Yeah. So if you're price conscious, we have one at $99, and it has this really cool oscillating pulse plate that you put on your cock, no matter if it's totally flaccid, semi-erect, or fully erect, and you do not have to actually stroke with it. However, you can if you want to buy some lube and stroke with it. Great for folks that want to explore edging or multiple orgasms as a penis owner. If you have an experience with your partner and you want to go ahead, it happens with this. The oscillation versus vibration helps blood flow go deeper into the dermal tissue. So it is a way that the medical side has used for a long time, and it was tested with 9 years of medical research on folks that had spinal cord injuries in Denmark because they wanted people to have the ability to have children. So the founders took this tech and we licensed it, and now we created a sex toy for civilian use. So we're not allowed to make civilian. We're not allowed to make medical claims, but it is based in the exact same science and research as what's called the Ferticare that's still used in hospitals today on penis cord spinal.
Spinal cord
injuries, penis owners, robot done, and I'm out. I'm glitching.
My partner just likes to use it in the morning before he goes to work. So
what's it called?
It's called. So there's the Pulse Solo Essential is our flagship product that's been out since the beginning, since 2013. There's a luxury version of that has a remote control, and then there's the Pulse Duo, which is the couples version. So sort of like the We Vibe, but it's a foreplay product to prep up both bits, so you can get the blood flowing on both sides, remove the device. You could do the edging, and then you can, play with the hard cock. And then there's also the Duo luxury version. So each person can be in control of their own remote control, the vibrating portion and the oscillating motion portion. Then there's an interactive portion where you can have sex with porn stars and with webcam models.
And maybe with April someday. And all available at purepleasureshop.com.
What about me? I want them to be able to have sex with me.
Oh, yeah. And maybe
do that too. They just need to
I would get really off on knowing other people are getting off.
And then you can make some good money on this side.
Yeah. Just saying. I'll license my image.
This is
well,
going to take
for only
that
some
magic
people.
practice to a whole new level.
I know. Like,
Yeah.
when can I have sex with
I'm
Leah?
like, wait a minute. I don't exactly want a bunch of crazy emails. So cancel.
Dude,
But
cancel. Never
April,
mind.
Get a hold of me.
Scratch that.
Yes.
Cool. Well, please send us links. So we'll add them to the show notes.
We will.
We'll do 100% for sure. We want everyone to have the beauty of an orgasm on the journey to the treasures within.
So there's just a worlds within worlds. I mean, sexuality has its own worlds within worlds, but then you bring in pleasure toys and you start to play with these products that we've been hearing about, and you can really take your sexual experience and what you thought you were capable of far above and beyond what you could even imagine. That's the whole point of this, is reimagining what's possible for you. So it's been such a pleasure and such an honor to have both of you on today.
Thank you so much. Oh,
Right.
love you girls. Thank you so much.
Love you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We love you.
Love, love, love. Here we go.
Ciao.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
Sex Reimagined with the Shameless Sex podcast, girls.
With Amy and April.
Yeah.
I just love those girls. They are just so fun to hang out with.
So fun.
They're just hilarious. I love the way April just like whatever comes to her mind, she holds nothing back.
Yeah, she is all sass and totally sweet, and I absolutely love her hilarious personality. If you haven't visited shamelesssex.com and taken a look at their podcast, you're definitely missing out.
Yeah, go check them out.
Because you're just going to get a hoot from these two.
Mm-hmm. And Amy is just like so, so poised, but so fun too.
And
just like
wealth
of
wisdom and
information. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Really knows a lot about especially the sex toy industry, which was this whole episode was all about the sex toys.
Yeah, it was fun to brush up on some sex toy knowledge, and I haven't ordered yet, but I plan to.
Yeah, and what's possible with sex toys and how sex toys really open up a whole new realm of sexuality for you. And I just love too the invitation that they bring. Like if you've never tried a vibrator before, it's okay. I think I love that story that April gave us. Like Amy actually gave her very first vibrator.
Yeah, I know. I loved that too.
And now she's like the vibrator queen of the industry.
I know. And it's fun to see her passion. And I think it's really neat that she gets to participate and collaborate with the design of things. I think that's really neat. I love that there were some cautionary tales regarding the whole sex toys and clitoral
Don't
burnout
blow your clit out.
Yeah, like that was so interesting. I had never heard it talked about quite like that before, and I think that was really important messaging. I even liked their messaging around avoiding the term premature ejaculation.
Yeah, that was great. Good distinction.
I do think there is some like medical validity
for sure
to the term, but I do really support and like the avoidance of that, because there's something about some medical terminology that
is
leaves
shaming,
us with an imprint of shame and
guilty.
Like if something is insurmountable.
Right.
And it really made me realize that in my seminars we never use the word premature ejaculation. We only talk about ejaculatory choice or ejaculatory control. But I have seen some value in, because wider audiences do understand the word premature ejaculation. So again, interesting take. And as I sort of filtered through my own beingness, like, okay, well, where do I want to come back to in terms of the use of the word premature ejaculation? Where do I want to roll that language back? Where is it appropriate? Like, it helped me broaden and be more intentional.
Yeah.
So I was glad for that reminder and for that plug that they brought to the episode.
Yeah, that was great. What did they use? What term did they use? I forget.
Ejaculatory control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I recall correctly. Fact check. Someone will tell us if our memory's wrong. But, a little tidbit that I learned about Amy although it wasn't shared on the podcast, is that she is a part of a long line of Santa Cruzians.
Yes, and also has
like
a whole
founding family of Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, California.
Yeah,
exactly. And then also has this this in her family line of, I think it was her uncle or great grandfather or somebody who had been peddling porn at one point in this journey. So like, and Amy has this shop with her mom. I've always loved that pure pleasure.
Oh, what I was so encouraged in this episode was just hearing their journey of podcasting.
Yeah, isn't it great? They started it out as a passion project. And I've even heard Amy talk about it, just personal conversation around, we were going to try it out for 3 months and then we were going to check in and see if we wanted to keep going. And we never had that check in.
Oh,
now,
really?
Now they're 5 years into it and they are flying. I mean, they're doing so great. They are working on a really big secret project right now. So that's exciting. Y'all are going to see that coming out soon. And, they've just really become such leaders in this industry and really are giving so much permission to reimagine the way you think about sexuality. The speakers that they have on their podcast and the openness with which they speak is really opening up other people's communication, vocal cords, voices, minds, relationships. I have mutual friends of ours in our community. They're like, I haven't been doing anything except for listening to Shameless Sex, and my relationship is like 10 times better. My sex life is 10 times better.
What a great testimonial. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I just really feel a total celebration for the work that they're doing and for their messaging and for who they are.
Yeah, for who they are.
Just
so raw,
girls.
real, fantastic.
Smart, wise,
funny,
fun.
Cute, sexy,
adorable,
hot as hell.
Yeah, we love you, April and Amy.
We're big fans.
Yeah. Well, love, love, love.
Thanks for tuning in. If the hosts seem to know what they were talking about, that's because they do. Leah Piper is a tantric sex master coach and a positive psychology facilitator. Dr. Willow Brown is both a Chinese and functional medicine doctor and a Taoist sexology teacher. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.